Emma, what's the best pronunciation app that I can use to improve my pronunciation? Do you know of any courses, free or paid, that I can use to improve my pronunciation and learn more about it? Emma, I'm an English teacher and I want to know more about pronunciation and possibly anticipate the kinds of problems that my students might have with pronunciation. How do I do that? Emma, what books do you recommend to improve my pronunciation? Well, I'm going to answer all of these questions in this video. These are in no particular order at all. I've literally just written them down and I want to talk about each of them, why I recommend them. Some of these are paid, some of these are free, but I've tried to do like a good mix of free and paid things because I know not everyone wants to pay or can pay. So the first thing I want to start with is my favorite pronunciation app. Now you might have already guessed it, but my favorite pronunciation app is ELSA. I've tried some other pronunciation apps and this one I think is probably the best one that I've come across so far. It gives you instant feedback on your pronunciation, it shows you how to pronounce certain sounds, teaches you about stress and intonation. You can also practice using dialogues, so instead of just shadowing and copying sentences at random, you can actually practice it in a dialogue and get feedback while practicing in a kind of role play setting. This is fantastic if you know about pronunciation and maybe you know about the theory and the sounds and how to pronounce them, but maybe you are not too comfortable yet with using it in conversation, or maybe you forget and you still make those pronunciation mistakes when you're speaking. So having these little role plays and things in the app where they give you the feedback instantly is amazing. So let me just give you a quick demonstration. I'm just going to choose a lesson from the TH section. So here, get ready to speak. Okay.
This.
So it will tell me how to pronounce the sound at the beginning. It will also tell me how to pronounce the word. So all I have to do is just listen and repeat. So it's just your standard shadowing exercise, but you get the feedback instantly. For example, this. And I got it perfect. Now let's make a mistake and you'll see what happens. Dis. So you see, it's telling me to try again. If I tap here, or this one, it will tell me exactly what the problem was and how I can fix it. So I highly recommend that you download ELSA, just try it out for 7 days. If you don't like it, then at least you got some free feedback. I've got 2 links down in the description. This video is not sponsored, they're just some old links that ELSA have kindly let me use. So there are 2 links, one for you to try out ELSA for 7 days completely for free. Then the second link is for you to get a huge discount. So if you want to buy it and you want to get the full version after your 7-day trial, then you have that discount there for you. Now the second thing I want to talk about is my favorite book. Or books, I should say. So a lot of people ask me what are my favorite pronunciation books. I'm going to start with one that I like for teachers and students. So this is English Pronunciation in Use. This is the advanced version, as you can see here. They have 3 different levels: elementary, intermediate, and advanced. I highly recommend that you just skip the elementary one. It really is super basic. And I recommend that you either go for intermediate or advanced. So I recommend intermediate if you want to learn the sounds completely from the beginning. If you want a good book that provides structure, starts from difficult sounds and compares them and so on, and then starts talking a little bit about stress, intonation, all of these more complex things that can be complex, but actually the book explains them really well. It also talks about connected speech, and it just gives you a nice gentle introduction to those sorts of things. However, if you're familiar with the sounds and you're at quite a good level and maybe you want to expose yourself to some different accents, then this book is absolutely fantastic. I use this book a lot with my students because there's no point in reinventing the wheel, right? It's already fantastic. But what you'll see inside are more advanced lessons. They're more specific. These sorts of lessons, they talk about cutting syllables, which I've talked about in my videos on my channel. They talk about intonation, but in far more detail. So the intermediate book just talks about intonation in normal sentences and sentence stress and things, but this book goes into very specific circumstances and different contexts. So if you really want to know about intonation, stress, removing words and syllables and things, in a lot more detail, then this book is fantastic. I have nothing more to say on that, but I will leave some links down below in the description. So if you want to go and check it out on Amazon, then I highly recommend it. It also does come with audio. I think the previous versions, they came with a CD, which I had, but I gave it away. And now I have this version. So if you buy this version, the latest version, it comes with like an app or something like that. So you do get the audio, but it's not as a CD. It's like as an audio file on an app or somewhere you can download it. I'm not too sure. But anyway, I absolutely love this book. Some other books that students have mentioned to me and that I've used in the past are Tree and Three. Was it Three and Tree? Tree and Three and Ship and Sheep. And in the past, I used to really like these books. I used to use them all the time, especially with elementary students, because they were very colourful, very simple. However, I kind of stopped using them because I did find them to be a little bit simple. You know, I wanted more in-depth lessons. I wanted more of this. So if you are at a level where you just want to learn the sounds and the very, very, very basics of pronunciation, maybe you are a teacher and you just want some materials to do with your students to practice some sounds and compare them, then Tree and Three and Ship and Sheep are both great books for those. But honestly, I would just probably get one of these and get the elementary version. If you're a student, I'd go straight for intermediate or advanced. Now, I'm always talking about shadowing. So one of the best things that you can do to improve your pronunciation, or if you're interested in imitating a certain accent, which some people are here to do, they maybe enjoy British accents, then I highly recommend finding some resources to shadow, and one of my favourite ones is Pimsleur. I should also say that nothing in this video has been sponsored. Like, I'm talking about a lot of different companies and apps and things, but nothing has been sponsored in this video, okay? These are just my opinions of my favourite apps and things. But Pimsleur, people who know me really well know that I actually really love Pimsleur, and I don't give it enough credit. I don't actually talk about Pimsleur that much, and I really should because I really like it. When I was first learning Spanish, which was like, 10 years ago, I remember listening to Pimsleur, and I would practice. I would sit in the dining room, like sit at the dining room table with my dad, and it would be like late in the evening, and we would sit and repeat together. And my dad and I used to test each other as well. Like, do you remember what tú means? Do you remember what usted means? Do you remember when to use usted? Like, you know, all these things. It was such an interesting experience. It really got me speaking from day one. So the way that Pimsleur works, you can get it as an app, or I think you can use it on the website as well. I'm not too sure if it's on the website, but for sure there's an app for it. I'll leave it down in the description and you can check that out. But it essentially gives you a dialogue. You listen to the episode, let's call it. You listen to that episode and it will give you a dialogue, like a kind of role play with two people. Depending on the level, it will start very basic, like super basic, like, hi, my name is Mr. Smith, what is your name? And then it builds up. So it doesn't just get you to repeat the sentences or repeat words. It will do something where you start from the final syllable of the word and it will go back, or it will start with the first syllable and then it will work its way to the back of the word, to the end of the word, and it will kind of build up the sentence like this, which is a fantastic technique to use, in my opinion. So if you're interested in finding some shadowing and you want like a good, nice, gradual resource to use, you know, one that's very kind of chronologically ordered, then Pimsleur is great for that. I've used it with Spanish and I've used it with Japanese. So yes, Pimsleur is fantastic. I'll leave a link for that in the description. You can go check out the app and website. Go check it out. So going back to books for a second, I mentioned the English pronunciation in use book, but for teachers, just teachers, so if you're a teacher watching this video, hello fellow teacher, I highly recommend this book here. So this book is Learner English, A Teacher's Guide to Interference and Other Problems. This I've had since, was it my CELTA or was it my degree? It was one of them. It's gotta be like over 9 or 10 years old has this book. It is an old one, but it is absolute gold if you're an English teacher, especially if you teach learners from different languages and different backgrounds. So if, for example, you're living in Japan and you're only teaching Japanese learners, then it's probably not going to be as useful. But if you are a teacher like me, where you have students from all around the world, then this book, oh my god, it is amazing. So what this book does is it tells you the kind of problems that certain language speakers might have when learning English. So if we look at the Italian section, for example, it will tell us about the phonology. So it gives us nice little charts, as you can see here. I'll also put in a nice little zoom shot. But you can see the vowels and the consonants on each page. So the shaded phonemes have equivalents or near equivalents in Italian. So you can see which sounds Italian has a near equivalent or an equivalent of, which is super useful. You've got the vowels, the monophthongs, the diphthongs, and the triphthongs, which is not talked about much on my channel, but triphthongs exist. So yeah, this talks about that. So as we can see from here as well, if we read a little bit further down, is it also gives us information on the kinds of mistakes they will make. So it doesn't just say the equivalence of the sounds, but it will also help us anticipate the sorts of problems or mistakes that our students might make. So for example here, I is frequently released and perceived as E, so leave for leave, okay, instead of leave and live. But Italians will say leave and leave. And it's super useful if you're interested also in learning about more about the language in terms of like consonant clusters, stress and intonation, rhythm. It talks all about this. The influence of spelling on pronunciation. So if you take a language that's phonetic, like Spanish, what tends to happen is learners who are Spanish speakers, they try to read English or speak in English as it is written. They try to read it phonetically because their first language is phonetic. So you need to try and train your students to shift their mindset that English isn't phonetic. And that's something that the book will help you anticipate, so you're more prepared to teach your students. So I'll leave that also in the description as well. If you need to transcribe something, maybe you have a big text or you just want to practice your transcription skills, then I highly recommend the website ToPhonetics. This is a completely free website that you can use to write a text or copy, paste a text, and it will transcribe it into phonetics for you. So you have two options, British phonetics or American phonetics, and they do differ quite a bit. So it's good to pick one or the other. What's really nice is you can choose to have strong and weak forms. So if you're transcribing single words, then you may just want the strong forms. But if you're transcribing sentences and texts, then you may want it to transcribe the weak forms for you. So you can just tick that button and it will transcribe the weak forms. Now, of course, this is like every other website and app that exists out there. It's not 100% perfect. So you may find that it might transcribe some words incorrectly, very slightly, or it might transcribe it with a different sound, like for example an I instead of a schwa, or it may give you a strong form instead of a weak form, like where you should use a weak form, things like that. It doesn't always detect context. So if you, for example, write a sentence where a weak word should be strong, it's not going to detect that. So you need to also bear in mind that you might have to do some editing and adjustments as well. But if you don't want to sit and try and transcribe everything and you just want to have something transcribed and then maybe make some changes and correct it, then it's great. But I would say about 95% of the time, it's correct. The only thing that does bug me is that it doesn't put the breaks where the syllables are. So quite often I have to go through text and I need to add all of the points where the syllables are. So that's a little bit annoying, but it's not the end of the world, it's just personal preference. Now, if you're looking for some activities, whether you're a teacher and you've got some students that you want to help with their pronunciation, or you're just a learner and you want to improve your pronunciation, then you can check out Cambridge's activities for learners. They're all completely free, as far as I'm aware. There are no paid ones at the time of recording this video, and you have different activities that range from like 5 minutes to 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I think some of them are. And they are essentially like little mini courses, mini activities that you can do, starting from certain sounds that are commonly confused, like bed and bad, or talking about intonation in words, talking about intonation in sentences, changing meaning, all of these different things. So it's fantastic if you're just wanting little exercises, completely free to practice your pronunciation. The only downside is that you're not going to get feedback. So if you're looking for feedback, then you perhaps may want to have a look at my pronunciation course. So if you're interested in improving your pronunciation and you'd like to invest a little bit of money into it, then why not check out Pronunciation Pro, which is my pronunciation course. I've put all my blood, sweat, tears and knowledge into this course. It's essentially everything that I teach my students in my private lessons, just in a course. And there are over 100 pronunciation lessons in there. So there is a lot of content. You can send, when I say you can send, you don't have to send. You can send a recording every day to get feedback. You can also do a one-to-one session with me each month in my open office days. So this is where I clear my schedule for all of my students on the course, and you can book a 15-minute slot with me, and we can go through anything that you need to practice. And if that's not enough, there's also a monthly webinar. So if you want to practice something in like a small group, or if you want to do some shadowing exercise, or if you've got some questions, it's basically just another opportunity to have me there and answer any questions that you might have. So if you're interested in that, as it's getting quite close to the holidays and the new year, you can use the code HOLIDAY. Holiday or holidays? I'll put the code here. I don't remember what the code was, but I'll also leave it in the description. So if you'd like to join that, you can get 15% off that, and that's just until the 7th of January. If you also have any questions about the course, you can drop me an email. I'll leave that in the description, or you can just leave me a comment and I will try and get back to you. But it's probably better to send me an email because things get lost in the comments. And finally, if you want to be able to type and write with different phonetic symbols, I have been searching high and low for a decent keyboard that doesn't look like it's gonna give my phone a virus. And honestly, I haven't been able to find one. So if you know of a good, decent, possibly free, that would give you some bonus points, keyboard to type with phonetic symbols, then please let me know in the comments below. But what I use personally is a website called IPATypeit.org. It's a bit of a weird website. It sounds like it'll give you a virus. But no, I've been using this since, I've been using this since I did my bachelor's degree because I studied phonetics and phonology for my bachelor's degree, and I've been using it since then. So it's like 10 years at least that I've been using this website. And what I usually do is I type out my text just in normal English, and then I copy that, paste it into ToPhonetics, and then I take that transcription, I copy it, and then I paste it into IPA.typeit.org, and then I will go through and I will correct any problems there. So that's it. Please let me know in the comments if you have any other favorite resources that you use to practice your pronunciation. As mentioned, this video is not sponsored in any way, in any form. I've not been gifted or given anything. These are just my genuine recommendations because I get asked almost every single day, Emma, what are the best books? What are the best apps? What's your course? Are there any free courses out there? Because I can't afford your course, blah, 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 which is fine. And this video, it's for those people. Anyway, I hope you have a fantastic week. Enjoy your holidays if you celebrate them. Happy New Year. It's just around the corner. So I'll wish you Happy New Year now, and I will see you later. Maybe next year. Bye-bye.